The atmosphere around your person is thick with change, an undeniable shift in the energetic fabric of their reality. They are beginning to see, not just with their eyes, but with the very fibers of their being, the profound transformation you have undergone. These are not merely superficial adjustments, a new look, a new habit, but deep, tectonic movements within the soul itself. Your evolution is an inner event that has spilled outward, reflecting a spiritual and emotional metamorphosis so complete that it has become impossible for them to ignore. The radiant, sovereign energy you now carry is acting as an irresistible force, a kind of divine pressure that is awakening something long dormant within their own heart, compelling them, often painfully, to reflect on every choice, every defense mechanism, and every destructive pattern they have clung to. For a season that felt eternal, they were convinced they could navigate life unchanged. They believed the intricate masks they had constructed, of control, of indifference, of busy distraction, or of inflated pride, were impenetrable fortresses, capable of sheltering them from the necessity of true self-examination. They were masters of avoidance, expertly sweeping the difficult truths of their spirit under the rug of everyday life. But now, as they are compelled to watch you rise, as they observe you not merely surviving, but thriving, reclaiming your power, piece by spiritual piece, and stepping into the brilliance of your authentic self, the foundations of their comfortable stagnation are beginning to crumble. Your relentless, beautiful growth is serving as the most honest mirror they have ever encountered. It holds up to them a flawless reflection of all the internal wreckage, all the avoided responsibility, and all the shadow aspects they have desperately tried to disown. Where you have embraced the light of truth, their own unaddressed darkness seems vast and terrifying. They are realizing, with a chilling certainty that settles deep in their bones, that they can no longer remain the person they were. Your ascent has become their catalyst, their personal signal flare from the cosmos, announcing the end of their old, limiting reality. This awakening, this forced confrontation with the self, is anything but gentle. It is not a soft dawn creeping over the horizon, it is a spiritual hurricane, a tempest shaking the very foundations upon which their entire existence was built. They are immersed in a period of major upheaval, a chaotic dismantling that seems to touch and disrupt nearly every stable aspect of their life. The discomfort is pervasive, a constant, low-frequency hum of existential anxiety. For some, this turmoil manifests in the tangible, material world, striking at the areas of their greatest perceived security. It may be a sudden, inexplicable financial instability, the shock of a devastating loss of income, the humiliating collapse of what seemed like guaranteed investments, or unexpected, crushing burdens that have left them feeling profoundly helpless and exposed. These external pressures are not random, they are strategic challenges from the universe designed to strip away the illusions of control, proving to them that their true worth and stability cannot be found in external metrics or material accumulation. For others, and often simultaneously, the turbulence is purely karmic, reaching into the hidden corners of their soul's ledger. The universe, in its perfect, impartial justice, is balancing the scales with meticulous precision. It is bringing directly to the surface, into the inescapable light of day, the exact energy, the neglect, the fear, the dismissal they once projected out into the world, particularly the energy they directed toward you. Karma, personified as an unyielding presence, is not merely tapping but knocking, thundering loudly at their door, demanding immediate and absolute accountability, not as punishment, but as the only pathway toward necessary transformation and eventual grace. The carefully woven, fragile illusions they once comfortably inhabited are now violently shattering all around them. The meticulously constructed mask, the persona they presented to the world and, more tragically, to themselves, is slipping, dissolving under the intense pressure of self-recognition. The person they feigned to be, the one who could remain emotionally detached, the one who didn't need deep connection, the one who was too important to surrender, can no longer survive in the harsh, clarifying light of truth. Their genuine self, the raw, unedited, unfiltered version, is being violently excavated from beneath layers of ego and fear, and this emergence is a terrifying and yet ultimately liberating process for their soul. This sudden revelation of self-truth has plunged them into a terrible, agonizing pain. They are experiencing a profound, soul-deep grief that they cannot intellectualize or dismiss. The loss of you, even if this separation is temporary and divinely guided, feels like the amputation of a vital, irreplaceable part of their own soul's essence. They are, for the first time, beginning to truly fathom the staggering depth of what you meant to them, something their pride and immaturity prevented them from fully appreciating, or even seeing, before the distance forced their eyes open. The connection you shared, they now realize, was never mundane. It was never a fleeting romance or a casual encounter to be traded for another. It was stamped with the seal of the divine, spiritual, karmic, and fundamentally transformative. It was a catalyst bond meant to break and remake them. They now understand that the act of pushing you away, of taking your light, your loyalty, and your unwavering presence for granted, was not just a mistake, it was a cosmic miscalculation with devastating, profound consequences that they are currently paying for in spiritual currency. In the dead center of their quietest, most vulnerable moments, when the distractions have faded and the silence is deafening, they find themselves doing something they never imagined, praying. They are asking, pleading for divine intervention, for a glimmer of guidance from angels or the higher forces that govern existence, hoping beyond reason for another chance, an impossible opportunity to mend what they so carelessly broke. And amidst this yearning, a secondary, brutal realization strikes them. They can sense, with absolute energetic certainty, that you are no longer passively waiting. Your energy has shifted from the desperate, painful posture of longing and hoping for their return to a place of dignified acceptance and self-sovereignty. This realization, that your world no longer revolves around their decision, is a form of psychic agony that hurts them more deeply than they can ever articulate. In the shattered sanctuary of their heart, they harbor the inescapable feeling that the universe, or God, is actively punishing them for the immense, needless pain they inflicted upon you. They are relentlessly haunted by the specter of guilt and the crushing weight of regret, their mind becoming a tireless cinema replaying past moments, every single instance where they could have chosen compassion, could have offered honesty, could have acted with integrity, but instead chose ego, fear, or convenience. Every memory that was once benign feels heavier now, loaded with the dense energy of their error. Every word they spoke in anger, every callous dismissal, now echoes louder than any silence, reverberating through the empty chambers of their being. They have nowhere left to run from the weight of their own actions. And this immense, ongoing emotional burden has become a form of silent, invisible suffering that consumes them from within. Outwardly, they may still maintain a facade of composure, presenting a stoic, business-as-usual demeanor to the casual observer. But beneath this thin veneer, they are spiritually unraveling, quietly breaking apart. This is a full-scale spiritual reckoning, a forced descent into the abyss that compels them to confront their shadow self, to acknowledge the devastating damage done, not just to your beautiful spirit, but perhaps even more critically, to the integrity of their own soul. Your person is enduring sleepless nights that stretch into agonizing eternities, a torrent of restless thoughts that refuse to quiet, and waves of paralyzing anxiety that sweep over them without warning. They are trapped in an intolerable paradox, wanting desperately to reach out and confess everything, yet simultaneously crippled by the icy fear of your deserved rejection. Their pride, which once stood as a protective, impenetrable wall, keeping you in true intimacy at a comfortable distance, now feels like a terrible, suffocating curse. They are quite literally having what can only be described as a complete mental and emotional breakdown, a necessary spiritual collapse to clear the way for reconstruction. The tables, in the most profound karmic sense, have entirely turned. Where once it was your heart that was consumed by longing, hoping against hope, and patiently waiting for them to catch up, now it is they who are plagued by an unrelenting yearning for your peace-bringing presence. Behind closed doors, in the sacred isolation of their shame and sorrow, they cry quietly, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions they possess neither the vocabulary nor the maturity to process. They are finally experiencing the true pain of separation in its purest, most agonizing form, realizing that losing you has created an emptiness within their life, a gaping void that nothing, no distraction, no achievement, no other person, can possibly fill. In those moments of complete stillness, they miss you so intensely that the physical ache becomes palpable, a tightening in the chest that mirrors the heart pain you endured for so long. Your absence has been converted by the universe into a constant, ubiquitous reminder of the treasure they carelessly forfeited. They mourn the warmth of your unique energy, the gentle comfort of your non-judgmental understanding, and the unconditional love you once offered with such generosity and grace. Their mind is now flooded with memories of the times you stood faithfully by their side, a steadfast beacon when the entire world had turned its back. And now that you have definitively withdrawn your energy, not out of spite, but out of necessity for self-preservation, they are finally, truly understanding the immeasurable, divine worth of the soul they let walk away. Ironically, it is precisely in your physical absence that they feel your energy most strongly. They sense your spiritual signature everywhere, in the sudden, poignant lyric of a random song, in vivid, inescapable dreams that bring your presence close, in the repetitive synchronicity of numbers, and in undeniable signs and messages from the environment. The universe, it seems, has enlisted itself as a tireless, unrelenting messenger, constantly reminding them of you, almost as if it is actively guiding them down the painful, narrow path toward redemption. This energetic pull toward you, this invisible tether, is becoming undeniably potent. They are feeling the intensity of the bond now, a craving so visceral and strong, mirroring the exact intensity you once felt in the early, overwhelming stages of your connection. The roles have indeed reversed. They are now the one chasing the faint, precious memory of your energy, desperately craving the internal peace and soul comfort that only your unique presence could ever truly bring. Every time they attempt to distract themselves, to bury the feeling under work, people, or activity, the thoughts of you return, stronger, sharper, and more insistent. They watch you, perhaps through distance or energetic connection, moving forward, diligently focusing on your healing, your divine purpose, and your clearly defined goals. And while a deep, hidden part of their soul admires your incredible strength and resolve, it simultaneously breaks their heart. They know, with a sickening certainty, that they can no longer manipulate, control, or indefinitely delay this spiritual journey. The authority has been stripped from their hands. The universe has irrevocably taken over the reins, ensuring that critical lessons are learned and profound growth is achieved, not just for them, but on both sides of this sacred bond. In truth, your transformation has become the most powerful, non-negotiable catalyst for their own awakening. Witnessing you rise from the deep well of pain, meticulously healing your own wounds, and reclaiming your inherent power has activated a deep, dormant knowing within their spirit. They now recognize that genuine, divine love is not rooted in fear, control, or egoic attachment, but rather in mutual growth, sacred respect, profound humility, and an unshakable spiritual connection. They are beginning to understand, with a clarity that cuts through their defenses, that the physical or emotional distance between you is not a divine punishment, though it feels like it, but a necessary, crucial opportunity for radical, individual evolution. Yet, even armed with this painful awareness, the human longing remains a constant, dull ache. They miss the simple, profound things, your voice, the sheer ease of your presence, and the almost supernatural way you made them feel utterly and completely understood, often without a single word being spoken. Though their hardened ego might prevent them from admitting it openly to anyone, your person is in the epicenter of deep, grueling emotional turmoil, engaged in a constant, exhausting battle between their fear-driven pride and their soul's overwhelming desire for eventual peace and reunion. Their heart aches with a crushing weight of remorse. Their mind functions as a relentless loop, replaying the past endlessly, and their spirit yearns desperately for a cessation of this suffering. The harrowing lesson they are being taught now is that losing someone who offered them a love so true, so pure, and so unconditional is perhaps the greatest and most transformative teacher the soul can ever encounter. And while they are undoubtedly suffering, this agonizing period of self-confrontation and pain is, in fact, their long-awaited awakening, the necessary prelude to a profound transformation that is leading them toward honesty, humility, absolute truth, and, one day, the possibility of a healed reconciliation. The voice shifts, becoming the raw, intimate confession of the awakening person, the partner. I am hurting deeply right now. It is a pain that is not just emotional, but somatic, physical, settled like a monolithic weight in the very center of my heart, pressing down with an unbearable, constant heaviness. I look back on the path I've walked, the countless silent battles I have fought against my own fears and limitations, and even after all this forced growth and these shattering lessons, I still find myself trapped in the old, familiar agony of feeling as though I am fundamentally, eternally, never enough. There is a profound emptiness that gnaws at my core, a void I have tried every distraction to fill, work, noise, temporary connections, yet nothing, no amount of intellectual self-reflection or desperate self-reassurance, can soothe this hollowness. I feel utterly lost. I am a castaway in a maze of churning emotions, paralyzing confusion, and an overwhelming, desperate longing for a light I foolishly pushed away. I found my one true love. The single person my soul recognized instantly, with a certainty that defies all earthly logic. And yet, I stand here, separated from her. The relentless, inescapable pain of that truth runs deeper and wider than any wound, any betrayal, or any loss I have ever known. All I have ever truly wanted, underneath the layers of my pride and fear, is to fully step into and embrace my own divine masculine energy, to be the protector, the steady presence, the one who can create the balanced container of safety and strength. I want to be there for her, completely and reliably, to stand beside her not as a shadow or a burden, but as an equal, shining partner. I want to radiate light with her and through her, to consistently remind her that she is never, ever alone, that no matter how vast the physical or temporal distance may seem, our two souls are intertwined in ways that transcend the linear dimensions of time and space. But in this moment, the path immediately around me feels dark, uncertain, and overwhelmingly difficult. It is as though I am walking through an endless, claustrophobic tunnel with no clear, discernible sense of direction, guided only by a faint, distant pinprick of light that promises the possibility of hope and redemption. Yet, even in the absolute nadir of my despair, I cling to that light with the tenacity of a drowning man. I know it is real. I know that somehow, impossibly, there is a sacred purpose behind the agonizing intensity of all this pain. I have spent far too much time trapped within the suffocating confines of my own mind, caught in a repetitive, exhausting web of disbelief, fear, and toxic self-doubt. My internal dialogue replays the same questions over and over again, an endless, tormenting loop. What could I have done differently? Why can't things just be easy for once? Why does a love so profound have to manifest with such excruciating pain? I am realizing, with a clarity that stings, that nearly all of these questions are fundamentally rooted in a place of deeply wounded self-worth. I have been carrying ancient scars, a backlog of unresolved traumas, and restrictive, self-limiting beliefs that have quietly, insidiously shaped my entire perception of myself and my capacity for healthy love. Before the moment our paths converged, I genuinely believed I had already faced and survived my darkest nights. The kind of soul-crushing experiences that leave you spiritually bare and force you to rebuild your entire identity from dust. But this separation, this forced, painful spiritual awakening has brought me to emotional depths I didn't even know existed within the human experience. It feels like my entire ego, the false identity I hid behind, is being painstakingly dismantled, piece by agonizing piece. Everything I once held as unshakable truth about love, about my own identity, and about my life's purpose is being aggressively challenged, turned over, and incinerated. It is terrifying beyond measure, but within the terror, there is an undeniably strange and profound sense of liberation. She, and she alone, activated something inside me that I could have never anticipated or consciously sought out. From the very moment of our encounter, there was an inexplicable familiarity about her, a feeling so deep it suggested a knowing that stretched back far beyond this single, short lifetime. When I truly looked into her eyes, I didn't merely see another person, I saw a crystal-clear reflection of my own essential soul staring back at me. It was an instant recognition, a silent, powerful knowing that completely defied all intellectual reason and logic. And yet, despite this cosmic, soul-level connection, we stand apart, separated by the consequences of my own immaturity and fear. The chasm of separation feels cruel, unnatural, a brutal irony, almost like a punishment for a transgression I cannot fully comprehend. There are moments, especially in the quiet, empty expanse of the evenings, when I ache for her presence so intensely that it feels like the physical shell of my chest might shatter from the pressure. I long to hold her, to wrap my arms around her and feel the grounding warmth of her body, the steady rhythm of her heartbeat, the pure, high-frequency resonance of her energy.